Hey everyone, we're going to do things a little differently today, okay? So I have our EVP of Operations, Marie Denicio, with us today. We're not going to talk business though. We're going to do a book club. And to those of you who know me that I don't do book clubs. However, we thought that this was special for two reasons. One was to kind of look at it from a personal, right? We're humans, we have loved ones, we have children, right? But we're also in business. And we have brokers and referral partners and ops that we work with. So the book was, for those of you who were sharing all over Instagram and social media about, was Mel Robbins' Let Them. So it's the let them theory. This woman has created a cult. These people get tattoos all over themselves. Let them. So Marie, what, 4 months ago, 3 months ago,
Probably.
You gave it to me. Mm-hmm. I jumped on it right away and absolutely loved it. So I'm going to throw it to you first, which is to say, let's talk about why you loved it. We were talking a little bit before we started here. Mm-hmm. What was the biggest impact for you?
Well, I think the biggest impact was just with the stresses of our business, right? I mean, obviously the cultures between COVID and, now the market, it's just a little crazy. Very stressed, high stressed all the time, always feeling that emotional high, like just everything's not settled and being home with children or, having all these responsibilities of, taking care of the family and being a leader or an executive out of a company or a sales manager. It's a lot of pressure. A lot of people are relying on you. So I just felt the emotions of it. And her words were just really meaningful to me, just let them be upset for a second. Like, why do you have to come in and solve everything in the moment? Just let everybody take a breather. So I think that, what I got most out of it was just to take a moment, get my emotions in check, and just listen to some of her theories, right? And put them in play with my family, which was interesting, and here at work, right? Like you said, we have a lot of ops and sales, a lot of different personalities, right?
That was one of the coolest things you said. I always forget, like we're not a family, we're a team, and coaches have to deal with different personalities in a locker room. Well, we're just in an office building.
That's right.
And you see it all. I only see kind of the sales side of things.
Right.
Right. You see both the sales people and the ops people getting emotional. Sales wants to control ops. Ops knows that you can't do that. You have to fit into the guidelines of the program, how we speak to one another.
Sure.
Like controlling the emotion, I think, was such a big thing.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I took from the book that I do regularly, there's not, obviously you could take a lot of things from the book, but one of the things that I did take the book is when I'm driving to work, I'm just letting go of everything that happened before. Like, I'm getting ready and the dog ate the couch or something, and my stress level's all high. I don't want to walk into the office like that, because if you come in and ask me to do something that's going to, cause more stress, or the fact that, a loan may be blowing up and we have to figure out solutions, I don't want to be all the way up here. I want to be able to soak it in and figure it out. I think a lot of people, have, with different personalities, have level of stress that they can handle, right? So you have to be able to know who your audience is. Is this person upset because that's just the way they talk? Like, I'm Italian, I use my hands a lot, I yell, I'm loud.
So fighting fire with you when you're fired up, never gonna work.
No.
Understanding, and we were talking a little bit before of not that we want to, but you want to, alpha, right? You want to control the situation. Right. Of which you can only control you, that's period. Right. End of story. And the more fired up you get, the less clearly you're thinking. And I believe Elon had said it, we get paid in direct relation to the problems that we solve. And if you're fired up, and it's been a practice, by the way, this is like 10 years in the making of not getting fired up. And what I always kind of jokingly say, in our business, you stay clear-headed and you have willing and able people around you, I'd say high 90th percentile, it's going to work out.
100%. Agreed.
Old Ra would be like, the deal's dead.
Yes.
Everyone's going to hate me. My business is going to die.
Yes.
I messed up. And like sometimes like I always want to answer quickly. And what I've been practicing recently is kind of pulling back that speed and just saying, let me think about it
Yeah.
a little bit longer. Maybe I have to talk to you. Maybe I have to talk to another colleague. Hey, what would you do here? Whether they're in the business longer than me or shorter than me, who cares?
Sure.
Because the last year is different. The last 2 years is different. Just because you've been in this business 30 years does not mean you know everything.
Right.
You got to know what's going on today. So my wife yells at me this morning. Oh, let me guess. Just let them? Just let them? Like, don't be dropping the... Okay. So it's a practice.
It is.
Understanding when I'm going to, utilize the let them theory. Now, for the people who've never heard of it, let me finish the comment. Because I was like, let them. I was like, well, how does this relate to my children?
Oh yeah, my kids were going to do anything they wanted then.
let them go in the street at 8 o'clock at night?
Yes.
Like, no. No, so there's kids are different, right? We'll talk about adults here. My children are much younger. Let them, ... let me. Right, so let the person, if they're losing their thing, I can't control, you're losing your mind, let them lose their mind. Let me walk away from the situation. Let me de-escalate the situation. Let me do what's right for me, because at the end of the day, right, that's the book. Let them do it. You can't control them, I can control me. Let me do this.
Right.
The super, super important. All factual, all, 10 years of her looking at this with doctors, psychological, 5 seconds to success. I haven't read that one, although she does talk about it a little bit. I've been trying that a little bit more, right? Your follow-up, for instance, on sales side. You think about following up, but then you don't. And that's such a key to success. And that rule, at least how I've learned it, I guess, is, you thought of it, 5 seconds, do it. Because if you don't, then you're not.
Yes, you forget.
Where I was talking to Rich the other day, and I had just reached out to him about his finger. Because now I'm going to implement that. If I'm just thinking about you, reach out, say hello. Absolutely. I don't want anything. I want zero. I want to make sure you're happy. And if you're not, okay, we'll go for coffee. Maybe I'll make you laugh for a second.
Absolutely. I think that the salespeople have a tremendous pressure, right? Because we talked about this. The operations team, they get paid whether a loan closes or not. The real estate community, your referral partners, where you get your business, it's important for you and the sales team to make, every deal counts to them in their relationships. And sometimes when you're dealing with realtors or referral partners that are very high, energy or even anxiety-full, right? Because a lot of anxiety in the world today. I mean, the statistics are crazy. We need to know how to handle that, because if we're, like you said, if we're all the way up here already, how are we really going to solve problems, right? Or how are we going to help each other grow? Because that's the building the relationship is the biggest thing. So let them be upset, but let me figure out a way how I can bring that down and work on the solution so that we can solve the problem. And you're right, we do figure it out usually. I think that for salespeople, though, the anxiety level is automatic because I'm not getting paid. That's all they hear. We had a meeting yesterday, and there was someone sitting in the meeting with us, and I was connected to them because I could see they were not themselves. Very withdrawn, agitated, and when we exited the meeting, I said, stay back. Let's talk about what's going on. I could tell, you could just feel. And we chatted about a loan that was a problem. And thankfully today it's working out for him. But I will say is just sometimes you got to let things happen and just slowly, give yourselves a breather and
put that ego aside.
Yeah.
I think the ego gets involved sometimes. I don't need anyone's help. I could do this all on my own. And I would say in any part of our lives, that is impossible.
Yes, agreed.
A husband, a mother, a father, whoever you are in life versus who you are here.
Listen, we're all juggling a lot.
Sometimes it gets in the way.
I mean, think about it,
you know.
Rob. You're running to kids' games. You're running, being a husband. You're, referral partner. You're running to open houses. You're running here to work on a loan with us. I mean, everybody's running. So it's let them, but let me figure out what my day is going to look like, right? Let me figure out and plan my time management so that I am not, running amok and not getting anything done. I'm not one to read books leisurely. I just am not, I listen to them more often than read them, but I still listen to her when I'm driving to work.
Yeah, her voice was awfully silky.
Yes.
Yes. I told my sister, she's an attorney in Boston, and she's like, "Oh my God, that's self-help, doing more self-help." And I'm joking. I'm like, why not? If you listen for 2 hours or read for 2 hours, like we go to, a Daryl Davis seminar, or any one of the big coaches around here, they might give you, for you, they might give you 10, what I would consider like a golden nugget, right? And I'm going to leave here with all 10 things. Maybe you leave with 2, but the value is there. You just have to decide, what are you going to implement? What are you going to change? What are you going to continue to work on? Hey, if this is not for you, God bless.
Yeah,
and I think this environment.
I think it's how you handle people too, right? So if I have an underwriter all upset over a file, strung out over it, like, oh my God, this is not exactly what I thought, and we didn't get this, and we didn't get that, and usually, if I let them calm themselves down, they'll figure out a way with the loan officer. I mean, that's the great.
That's such a great point. I've learned you debate your point. And then you let them breathe, and I'll follow up with you tomorrow.
Correct.
I'm not looking for an answer right now. And I have found, I'm not going to win always, but to your point, I have found that letting them come to what they feel is right, based on maybe some influential information I provided, and just let them come back to me. Don't keep pressing, because then they think you're trying to hide something.
100%. And it's the same thing as the processors. You have someone where, you have a loan officer that's, looking for a follow-up and goes into the computer and says, oh, there was no follow-up. And, when people come at you like that, you're like, oh.
Stop telling stories about me in front of my face, in front of the
Not at all. I will say, I've worked with you for a really long time now. I don't want to say how long, but it's been long. And the younger Rob was a little excitable. And I feel definitely a difference where I think first confidence that we're going to solve it together, because I think you believe and know that the ops team will always have you back, and we'll do what we can to make things happen. And we feel the same way about you. So that's why I think, Nationwide, Own It, the teams here all work really closely together, because we do sit back a little bit. There's not so many anymore that jump out of their skin right away, because we usually solve. And
at least the people on this team, we will not be on our team and talk down, disrespectful, no, this is who we are. We're a team. We need to speak to each other that way. And I never spoke to people that way. Right. Full disclosure. However, where Marie might be right is the excitableness of, I walk in and have to vent.
Yes.
F-bombs, and I'm visually fired up. And almost every single one of those times it's worked out. And through your leadership and other mentors that are like, you're not going to get very much further in life if this is how you react.
Right. Absolutely. And thank you for that. But I will say that comes with learning to work with people, right? And trusting them, building trust. That's big, right?
Trust and power.
100%.
Right?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You say, I don't want these months anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I'll never forget what you said. If you don't want these months, then you better start trusting your team and get out of our face.
That's right.
Meaning, go sell something.
Yes.
Go to a lunch. Go to a breakfast. Create the relationships.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's...
Absolutely. I mean, it comes, personal and business, right? I mean, I did the let them theory with some of my children, like just, why am I getting so upset that they're not doing exactly what I want them to do? Like, oh, I told them to make this doctor's appointment or do this. And that's serious, right? You got to make your doctor's appointment. But I used to be like, if they didn't do it within like a certain period of time, I was doing it for them. And I'm saying, what am I doing? Like, why am I putting this for? So now I just kind of let them. And it's worked. I mean, I think they've stepped up, and I think people naturally
Maybe
do
we
that.
do too much for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You don't have to say that twice. But yes, we have.
So then I'll give you like a silly example. All right, we got a lacrosse game. Let me just make sure that the gear's in the right truck. Mm-hmm. Ba, 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 ba. We get to the game. Where's your cleats? I don't have my cleats. Now, who's at fault? Mm-hmm. I feel terrible that I didn't remember them.
Getting them.
Now I got to go get them. Right? You can't warm up because we're on. You have slides on. Mm-hmm. You can't even warm up, so you're staying in the car.
Right.
Thank God we're close. Let's run home.
Right.
Now look at that's my fault. I should have told him to do all of that. Mm-hmm. But he has become so used to his mother and I doing everything, where the one thing that I didn't put in the car is what he forgot.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, all age appropriate.
Sometimes let him do everything. Let him fail. Yeah. And look, you let him do the things, and they're like, "Wow, I really need that doctor's appointment, that dentist." I mean, I know Mom told me to do it a month ago. I got to do it. I'm not doing it. Let your teeth rot out. let them. So I use your children a little bit older than mine. So I'll give you the example of going to the bus stop. Mm-hmm. If it's 45, and you're going to fight with me over not wearing a coat, okay,
100%.
I'm done. Mm-hmm. And my wife's like, "Why? Let him be cold." Because if they're not cold, they won't understand what we're really trying to tell them. They're like, "It looks puffy. I don't like the way I look."
That is exactly the book right there. God. It's just you got to let them feel that piece.
We do so much.
Yes, we do.
But anyway, it was so.
We always laugh. My friends and family, we all laugh because. Could you picture your parents ever doing half of what we do for the children of today?
I tell them, I said, I was making my own breakfast. I figured out how to get that high to get the bowl of cereal. And I did it. And now they're like, "Yeah, we want poached eggs with hollandaise sauce." I'm like, "What?" I guess I shouldn't have made so many eggs Benny for them.
Yes. Very different worlds.
But now today, for the first time, I hear the two little ones down there. My oldest is leaving for school like 7:15, and I hear them. I'm like, "What are they doing down there?" They were making toast for us.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And I thought that was super cute.
That's awesome. Absolutely.
That they're working together
Yeah.
to try and, put some toast together.
Absolutely.
Look at us growing them up.
Yep. Well, it's another scenario is, you ask them, listen, let's do some yard work or let's do a project in the house or whatever. And, the way we would do it, it's a lot different than the results of what we're going to get from them. I mean, I think one day you came and dropped me off. We went to a function together. You were like, "We got to work on the snow removal of the driveway." Remember? Yeah. And I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right." And, sometimes they don't do it exactly the way you want. And, that piece of it used to get me so aggravated. And to me, I'm just like...
It's a big... my wife didn't read it. I'm like, please read it. Mm-hmm. Because it can change a couple of things.
Yeah.
What I've learned is if I'm told to do something or asked to do something, the timing in which needs to be done is now. It's not later. It's right now.
I was very bad
I've learned
at that. Yes.
Can we take the garbage out? Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. I'll wait an hour. Nope, then I see her taking it out.
Yes.
Go ahead, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Right?
I know.
It's fine.
Yeah. I think a lot of people like that. And listen, I think that, it's all emotion control, right? So if the kids are playing downstairs, do they have to take the garbage out right now? Or can they do it when they're done playing a game? And as parents, because we're going so fast and we're, I think, overwhelmed on how much we really do for them on top of, working full time, we want it done right away because we want to know it's done and that's it. We don't have to worry about it. But they're in the middle of something. And not that they shouldn't. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. But I'm just saying, is it a big deal that they do it now as long as they do it later? Yeah. And that was that was a big thing for me. I had to, anybody want to do the sock bin? Anybody have socks in their drawers? Can somebody work on that today? And then nobody would. And I was like, you know what? I got my socks.
So early on, so in the first couple of chapters, I was like, "Oh, let them, and let me." And then you start joking with yourself, and you're like, "Oh yeah. Let my kids do that, and let me beat them senselessly afterwards." Like, no, that's not right. That's not right.
Yeah. It's a, listen, it's a great theory. And other aspects of it too is just, I don't know if you remember, but she was very anxiety-full in the beginning of when she first went through all of this. She couldn't get out of bed for a while, like really felt like a failure. And, we've dealt with that within the company. And I think the industry, it's been very stressful for a lot of the salespeople. Where business has not been good, and you used to feel really, Papa Bear in the industry, and now you're barely, making it, making it. So it's very difficult times, and I think that stress is really there. You see it on, a lot of people's faces where it's just a real challenge, and worrying, right? How much she was worried, and really you spent so much time worrying that you only spent this much time working.
Yeah.
Because you were so worried about what if. And it's just like, you got to try to be like, in the morning, if I get up and I'm in a bad way because maybe something really upset me, whether it be personal or business, I really do try once I get out of my car or if I'm working from home, once I get into the office and just sit down, I try to forget all of that. I don't want to constantly think about it because they say, right, the more you think about problems, the more they become bigger.
100%.
So sometimes you got to let them right, resolve themselves and just kind of move to the next thing and take some steps. And I think that was pretty big for a lot of people. You weren't the only one that I suggested the book to, and other people that were very high anxiety with things. I said, stop spending all that time worrying.
Yeah, breathe. When you start, and not that I meditate or do yoga, but breathing exercises.
100%.
It's amazing. It sounds so
I know.
cheesy.
It does. It sounds phony.
Breathing. And even like the smallest breathing exercise will calm you down. I don't want to quote anything in the book because, going into like the chemical part of the brain.
Right.
And the parts of the brain. Ready? Like when you're talking to a child and they're watching TV and you're like, Miles. Third time you yell, they get their attention. They don't hear you because they're so laser focused on that. And that goes for people in ops and referral partners, and that relationship when people will change and people will listen when they're ready.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, listen, we deal with a lot of realtors, wonderful people, very, very good, referral sources. And, you become really close to people. Like they say, when you go through really tough times or a traumatic experience or anything like that, it brings people together, right? This industry has been really rough. Whether we were overwhelmed with business back in COVID times, and now, kind of with the market where it is, everybody's very stressful in the country, very divided. Friends are not friends anymore because of the country's position in politics and things like that. And everybody's just so, and I just feel like you need the right people around you. So part of the Let Them book too is about, there's seasons of friendships, right? Seasons of work, family. Sometimes it's just not the right season for us to be together.
Great point.
You just need to be like, wait, this person may not be for me right now because I can't make a good impact here, right?
Yeah.
So if I have somebody that works here and they're so upset all the time, of course, I'll try to mentor them and coach them to bring it down a little bit. Maybe they're just a little too high strung or whatever. If I get that way with them, we're just clashing. So you have to take a step back and just try to make it work. But back to the real estate, I think that the realtors they are in such a way of anxiety as well, right? Now we're, fighting over houses, overpricing, right? They're asking for 50,000 over the price. Everybody's freaking out. We're doing pre-quals like there's not enough houses. Young people can't buy houses. There's a lot of stress. And I think that when they work with partners that, what's the word? I guess, benefit them or enhance them, right? It's better to have that kind of relationship than two people just freaking out, all the time.
That synergy of being positive, but letting people know that they're not in a stressed out anxiety boat all by themselves.
Correct.
And I think the last, 2 years, because 22 was still pretty good, right? 23 started to shrink a little bit, and then zero inventory from there on out. And I have found, just like sharing, that we're human. And And I do. I think a lot of people love me because I am super positive by nature, but I let them know that that's not always me.
Yeah.
Let me explain, like this is not always me.
Right.
However, and I do share this, if you're down, don't let yourself get down for a period of time. Go get a cup of coffee with your best friend. 2 hours, your girlfriend.
Yep.
Go give yourself that moment, and then you come back.
Sure.
Or you need a vacation, go 3, 4 days, 5 days.
Right.
Go away and recharge those batteries and come back right. Top producing people at the highest level just stay plugged in more times than they are unplugged. And the people that are really hurting here, they don't plug back in. They kind of just deal with that mentality.
Right.
And we got to get them back out positive.
And you don't know the intent, where the intent is. Like, there's times where I come in the office, and my superior or even one of my employees, gave me a little tweak, a little comment that was like maybe didn't sit well with me. And, we can't have the assumption all the time that it's about us.
Yeah, no.
The world is not about us, right? And so, I don't know, maybe they had a really bad morning, or maybe something happened,
Yeah,
or
I don't judge your...
Yeah, so
What's
sometimes it's like, let them be upset, and maybe make a snarky thing, and then, maybe later on when you see them in a different way, if it continues, of course. But I'm just saying, like, it might just be a one-off where they're just having a bad morning. A lot of people come to work. Let's think about it. I'm getting my kids on the bus. I got to do laundry. I got the crock pot on. They're coming in. They're probably like, oh, my God, I'm at work. Now I got to work a full day, right? So sometimes, it might be a bit, maybe somebody, I always tell this story. Like, if an underwriter is underwriting your file, and you don't agree with something, and you're like, why, he or she picking on me? I got 10 more conditions than I think I should, and blah, blah, blah. And, if somebody came to me, I'd be like, all right, let me take a look, and if I look and I'm like, you're probably right. And I'm going to say, you know what, maybe they had a bad morning. Maybe their anxiety level and emotions were so high that morning that maybe they just, were overzealous in trying to, I don't know, just overstep by accident. Like maybe it's not intentional. Like, I call the underwriter, do we really need any of these things? Like, you look a little...
You go into that interpretation meeting?
Yeah.
Calmly. Let's talk about
100%. Like, what happened here? Oh, yeah, you're right. I probably don't need that.
You can't put a square peg in a round hole, so I don't care how good of an arguer you are.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense.
That's right. And, and sometimes, listen, there's always times where you could ask for extra stuff. And, today's industry is very different than the past, and we do try to, dot our I's and cross our T's so that we don't have any issues. But sometimes we can go a little overboard because maybe we're not feeling comfortable with the loan. Maybe it's a high-risk loan, and we just want to overdo it just to make, we call feel-good conditions. Well,
100%.
Sometimes that happens, and, you just have a conversation, and then they're like, all right, take these 3 off, but get that 1 for me. Okay, great. We win right there.
Relationships.
Yes. Trust.
The trust. That, and one of our team leads just did something for me the other day where, we're closing on a Thursday and we really need something. She called it a trailing condition. Closing Thursday. I had that condition to her Thursday morning, not as a trailing. And she was like, thank you so much. And I simply said to her, you're going to have my back, help me out, get it done, get it CTC, get it on the books, that I'm always going to come through for you. This won't be trailing. You will have this before funding. Right. Because I don't want to, I'm not going to run after the fact. My point is that I that meant so much to me, and I do know her for a very long time. And if you do that for me now, I have to come through for you. Right. That's why it goes both ways. If I don't come through for you, she's not going to do that favor.
That's right. And then we can do it again as long as we get it, right? So it's all about trust. It's about communication. It's about, do we really need to close this, or can it close the next day? And obviously, we want to make sure that the salespeople, the realtors, they all only get paid if loan closes. So, of course, that anxiety is there. Where ops is, even though they have a stressful job, they're still getting paid whether the loan closes or not, right? So there's a big difference there. And I always try to express to our ops team, we always use this saying, you guys are our bloodline. And, without you, we don't need us. So let's be supportive. Let's be an extension of them, enhance them, make them look good out there, be reliable. Make sure that when we are telling a realtor or a borrower we can do something, that we can do it. Anybody can do a
Yeah.
pre-qualification.
Trust me, we see a ton of it out there that has no business being in the street.
That's right. And, there's times where there's maybe deals that, need a lot more massage and a lot more work. And I think that that's what makes us great as a team, because we have that relationship. And that's the season. We need the right people, the season of people around you to be successful.
It's funny you say team, right? So that's like the word of the day, because I feel like back, let's say 10, 15 years ago, we used family because we wanted you to feel comfortable that you were around people that cared about you. And I feel like it's really a team, right? Because family wants to make you feel warm and fuzzy. Maybe doesn't want to tell you the stuff that you need to, but a team, we share good, bad, or indifferent. We are a championship team looking for the Super Bowl.
Sure.
And if the teammate doesn't fit, the teammate's gone.
Right. 100%.
Not it's my little son, he's got to stay on board, he's got to stay here forever.
Accountability.
Correct. And you use the word empower, right? Because they want to feel not like I have to go to this boss or this boss or this boss. No, empower them. And then we form that relationship with, hey, this is really important to me. The client, the referral partner, the whole deal. And when you've been doing it, some people here have been doing it 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Your name in the community, it spreads. So like you're saying, oh, my customer, my referral partner, you might know the attorney on the other side. You might know the realtor. You might know the seller on the other side. Your name, that brand, it lies in that trust to say, I'm about to buy $1 million home, $2 million home. Well, you got my back?
Yeah, it's a good point that you make, because in the book, you can't just let them and walk all over you either.
No.
So that's part of the book too, is to say, I'm allowed, right, to say this doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
right? It's part of, hey, you're not doing a good job for the team, and that needs to change, or you can't be on the team, right? That's part of the let them theory. Isn't let everybody walk all over you either. So
that's what I think is your. Mike and Richard put something out yesterday, right? What's your superpower?
Yes, we talk about that.
And I think that's your superpower. Your superpower is the innate ability to be talking about something that's negative, trying to build it positive without that person feeling like they're being attacked by an executive.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
Early on, I was scared of that. But then you realize, watching your sister and you operate together with there's a respect and there's the truth.
Yes.
If I'm lying, call me out on it. You did this wrong, and this wrong. Is that okay? And I'm looking up like, oh, you get beat up in there. But then you leave and they say thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think, and it's funny that you bring that up. So obviously you brought up Lisa and I have worked together for 27 years or whatever it is. And I think that's why we're able to have that relationship of love and respect for people we work with, but then also disagree. Yeah. And never agree, but still be able to have a relationship, because we had to do that. We were family, and we were both in very important positions wherever we worked together. And we did, I was more of the salesy, support and sales to get through to ops. And she was like, the gatekeeper of business, credit risk and all that. And sometimes we didn't always agree, and we went at it, on files. And there was a couple of doozies, but in any event, we're Italian and loud. So, but, we were able to argue about it and really have debate over it and walk away.
Because that's a good word. We're not fighting.
Yeah. We're debating. Yeah, 100%. And we would totally have that debate. We would, have an argument, walk away. Sometimes she would rethink. Sometimes I would rethink. And, we didn't really count how many winners there were, but we were able to have that disagreement and be able to work together continuously and go home and have a relationship together, right? Correct. So that's a big difference. So here, I'm a big pet peeve of that. Like when you come to me or anybody in any position here that says, hey, I don't like this. This isn't working for me. This isn't what I wanted out of my teammate, and I don't feel like they're doing a good job. I mean, I'm not going to just say, okay, I'm going to go talk to them. I'm going to look into it, right? All the time, you always say, I'm going to look into it. We're going to figure
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I don't like this. Can we change it?
And so I'll look into it, and then we'll have that conversation. And a lot of people don't like to have that conversation. Confrontational, confrontations are difficult, but if you do them in such a word, use such words as she did in the book, is, I want to empower you to have a really good relationship with this person. But if you keep failing at the things that they're asking you to do, how are we going to do this? Like, what do you want to do, right? And so those conversations we have had, and I know you've been a part of some of them, and I remember you being in a couple of meetings and you were like, ouch. But you know what? If you're not real, they can't fix it, right? So if your referral partner, and this is for real estate agents and referral partners too, if they're not doing what you need them to do, why not say it? Because if I don't know that I'm not doing something that you need to do or you need to have done, how are we going to get there? So just be real.
I saw that like one of these coaches online, like, who's the friend? The friend that tells you what you want to hear or what needs to be said?
Yeah.
I'm a truth teller, and sometimes people don't like that.
I know. But it's okay. Let them not like you.
Yeah, no, it's, move on. Booyah, see ya.
Mel
I say I flick him like a booger.
Mel Robbins going to call us and say, you want to come on my podcast?
Stop it. Mel, call us.
No, but it's true. It's like, it's really interesting on, making people feel really good about what they do, but also addressing what they don't do well and how we can fix that together.
I think that's a great point. Now, I always say to young people, people will never remember what you said. They will only remember how you made them feel.
Yes.
And when I really embraced that, I thought it was super important, right? Because then you start to think, right? I was very words first. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Now I think before I talk. And certainly an email.
Yeah.
Right. So, sometimes you got to write a fiery one. And then what I learned is you write it and you never send it. Get it off your chest, delete it, say, man, we set up a 5-minute call and do it the right way.
Right. Or don't send it until the next day and then you tweak it.
Don't send it. Remember, it's always going to be in the ether of your company.
And listen, interpretation is really big, right? So if you're sending an email or even your tone, right?
Oh, 100%.
I've been accused of being, my staff in the past have always made fun of my email that said, see me.
Oh boy.
I was just like, see me. It's
got a long walk down to your office.
But it was never bad. Like I said, have you ever come in here and I'm yelling and screaming? They're like, no, but just seeing you say that. I'm like, come on, give me a break. So see me, like when you have a minute, come see me. And it never was crazy because if I really was upset, we'd probably having more of a meeting. But, it's just so funny, their interpretation of see me. Like I always think, but I could see it. Like, and that's a little bit like my youngest daughter is very literal. Right?
I am not literal, by the way. My family
So if
is.
I say something, she's like, takes it. She doesn't, it's black and white. Okay. And I've been accused of that sometimes when I deal with people, but I've tried to really make people feel comfortable that we're here to grow individually and as a team. And I think that it's important to not only, recognize what's really great as attributes to any employee or any friend even, right? Or family member. It's good to say, I love you. It's good to say, thank you. It's good to say, please, and I appreciate you. But it's also good to say, I'm disappointed in how you're treating me or what's getting done here. So it's
sharing it out loud is important because then you start to fester. Like I'm more of a sharer where my wife's really not.
Right.
Kind of inside. And then I get in trouble for something 3 months ago. And you're like, whoa, where's this coming from? But that's everyone has their process and how they think and who am I to judge? So she was like, shoulding me this morning, And I'm like, no, you can't should. Why? Don't should me. I learned that a long time ago.
It was coming back to you.
Don't should me.
Yeah.
Because that's you trying to control me in my view. And then of course it didn't blow up negatively.
Right.
But she's like, oh my gosh, so just let them do your own thing, Yeah, it's fine.
Right.
Regarding like my dad's retiring tomorrow. It's his last day. He's retired, I think, 4 times.
Oh.
One of those like, well, maybe just one more year, and tomorrow's the day. It's over. And she's like, well, let's set up a little something for him. I said, oh, I'll stop by the office. We'll do like coffee or something. He's like, nah. But like, not like no, don't do that. He literally was like, no. So I'm like, babe, you don't, my dad's different. He's not rah, rah, rah exciting. I get her point of view, but she's almost getting mad at me because I haven't done what she would have done.
Yes, that's a really big thing. I mean, look, everybody handles things differently. And I think my husband and I are like that too. Like, I'm like, let's do this. And he's like, why? Why do we have to do that?
Is it? You think it's a?
I do.
Male-female thing?
I mean, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I do. I think that sometimes,
motherly instinct where we're like, I don't know,
nurturing,
give him a drink or something. It's fine.
Yeah. Where we were like, let's have a party. Yeah, absolutely.
Celebrate. He does so much. And that's the part that I do get. Like, my dad is the most unselfish person in the world, and he gives. He gives. And my wife gets mad at me. I said, nah, he's happy. Let him give. Let him give us stuff. He's going to see this and die. He's going to call me, yell at me.
Funny. But I agree with your wife. Sometimes when there's a big thing, you want to celebrate it. And, I think that's great. But you're like, it's okay. He doesn't want that because that's not what he wants.
It's not. But we'll see what happens.
Too funny.
This has been phenomenal. Thank you, because I know you're super busy. And I appreciate you coming out and talking a few things with us. I hope this has helped maybe one or two people, give them the insight of how to maybe just change a little bit, maybe read the book, maybe read another book that means something to them, and know that you can't control people. You can only control yourself, and just breathe.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. See you guys soon.